this is a really funny part right at the beginning for me because I always feel like I have to come up with something really intelligent and deep or whatever, but I don't. I don't have anything intelligent and deep other to say that I really look forward to meeting new artists every time, and I look forward to our conversations and how much we enjoy learning from each other. And that's about as deep as I can get today. So why don't we get started? And we're going to, our first presentation today is from Morgan. So go ahead.
这幅画是天上的风。
This painting is it's called The Wind in the Sky. It's a painting from like 5 to 6 years before. This is a painting from the early stage of my painting career.
It's earlier paintings from him, and he think this is the first time he's talking with all the other countries' artists, and he wants to from the beginning to introduce himself. At that stage, actually, he's not really quite sure what he wants to really draw or express, but he also feels like he just really want to. I think I interviewed him before. He went to many other different jobs before back to artist. He was the owner of the restaurants. He did the retails or other random stuff, but for years he didn't touch art at all. And before, I think college, he was really good at art and was the art students all the time. And after a couple, like 30 years, he back to the artist, and this is kind of the first couple artwork from his art career again. And he says all this painting he shows today is more like, even it's early stage, but he still feels like maybe we can give him a lot of feedbacks or comments, and he can back to that stage to understand his painting more.
So this painting is it's kind of like expressions of his emotions to, and also desires for his mother. This painting is from an idea from his a song her mother always sang. It's a Mongolian song, and it's really about how his mother encouraged and support him, and also the precious memories to him. A lot of the feeling from about this painting, it's about the loss of Morgan's mother, and also all these paintings show some beautiful, generous, innocent, and romantic, and also different kind of texture and also images from Mongolian female that he is missing her mother, and also how he thinks about his life after losing his mother. So the paintings are interested with the longings for the mother, and also shows the characteristics of hard work, kindness, bravery, and sincerity of Mongolian women. The style of the work is full of romantic beauty, constrained imaginations, and this period's work are very well thought out and shaped with a strong contrast of color blocks and rich changes in detail. This painting is also a continual idea about missing his mother, and also the status of him missing his mother, and also all the thoughts about Mongolian women. And also some Eastern culture, some of my own feeling about Eastern culture is included in this painting also. Yeah. This painting is from, the idea of this painting is from a village in Mongolian tribe, and it's about like a lot of like tiny little stories about they send messages through birds, and also it's related to how I missed my mother and all the different thoughts about her. On the left side of this painting, you can see there's like a little dog there. It's kind of represent myself, and also it would be so different if this is actually a human, because of this is an animal, so it brings out like the interest and also a different idea to break the to bring out different emotion in this painting. This is another painting from the early stage of the painting career. This explained the really traditional culture from Mongolia, where the female usually marry someone far away from home. And in this painting, you can tell all the emotions are described on the painting, and about how the female in the painting kind of struggling, or like have some complicated emotion on her face. And this also explain how this is also a history of Mongolia, explain how the society it's built up that way, because having a baby boy or baby girl, it's different in Mongolia culture, and it makes a huge difference in the society status.
In this painting, I thought it was a man and a woman in the painting, but actually the artist said those are two women, and they are maybe siblings or sisters, and after the marriage one of them will go really far away, and they might be never seeing each other because the grassland is so far, and they might marry this girl to different tribe or different city or even country. So after that, for years and years, maybe after years, maybe they just will be strangers. Even in the first like 20 years or like 15 years, they are the most close siblings to each other. But after that, they will never see each other again.
This is also related to my mom, because my mom actually married herself from the eastern of Mongolia to the western side. And this is also a tiny story that she always tells me. And this is how my mother's is resonating to me, because from this painting, because it is all these tiny stories build up the memories with me and her. In traditional Mongolia, there's like a lot of different cultures, and all these mountains or sacred lake in Mongolia always means something like blessing to people. And this is how I wanted to show in this painting. And it's just because there's a mountain and also lake, so that's why there's like horses running around. I often add my own explanation in the painting. So in this painting, you can see there's two horses. They're actually kind of flirting with each other. This painting is about experience back in when I was in Mongolia. It was the whole day. We didn't see anyone in the whole place, and then until sunset, I suddenly heard like a voice coming from so far away that I couldn't tell what it is. But it's kind of warming me up in certain ways. And when I back home, I just thought of this memory and draw out this painting of a Mongolian woman. I use this contrast of warm and also cold color in this painting as well. There's also a little bird on the hand of the female in the picture. It's kind of described the desperation of me, like being alone out of nowhere and hoping for someone to come here to save me, seeking for help.
Great, thanks. So thanks for that. I really like this, like what you made here. So Luno, I'm going to start with you. How does this strike you in terms of some of these images of what the traditional life and what might be going on now in contemporary times?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because we are in the Inner Mongolia. It's the half Chinese and half Mongolian area. A lot of Mongolian, they went to the Mongolia country, but some of the Mongolian we keep in China from the year 1949. We established the China. So actually in the Mongolia, in Mongolian culture, we really respect mother and female. And usually the mom is the most powerful person in the family, and she can tell everyone what they need to do or what they should to do. It's really interesting. But in Chinese part, like for traditional Chinese culture, they don't respect women that much. It's always like respect mom. So I can understand why artist Morgan, when he lost his mom, like how he really thinks this is the really important thing in our culture. We lost a lot of like who always supports us, who always help everyone, who always help us to make the decisions. yeah, they don't, the Mongolian moms, they don't like decide what kids should do. They always to like helping them and let them to make the decision by themselves. I think that's why also Mongolians are a little bit bold or wild. That's what I feel.
So I like how the paintings in the early stage, especially the first 4 paintings, has a very distinct difference from the rest too. Like how it has a strong worship to motherhood and to females. Like Luna said, it's a strong representation of this worship to mother as a concept of Mongolian culture. And I also like how he said in the first painting, how it symbolizes the strike of the stage of his life that he lost his mother, the fear, the unstable feelings of how that part of the life feels like when this very important figure is not in his life anymore. And I like how the his mother has a strong influence to his understanding of the Mongolian culture, like how his mother tells the folk stories to him, how his mother tells the story of Mongolian culture, and how he understands it, because it's like our the modern life of Mongolian kids born in Inner Mongolia, a lot of us like he did doesn't really experience a tribe life, and our understanding of our culture is come from our parents. And he has all these characteristics represented in his painting, but also come from his parents is a very similar experience of us, the modern Inner Mongolian kids. And I love how this is presented in his painting, almost like this concept of these young people are all represented in his painting. That's what I love.
Thank you. First, Luna, thanks for enlightening us a little bit more about what, the role of women in Mongolian society. That helped me understand the painting a lot more. Melisha, that was very helpful as well. Michelle, you had clicked on a little bit earlier. Did you have something you wanted to add? Okay.
Well, if I may comment,
Sure.
I love the colors, the striking colors and the contrast. I can see that he really pushes the complementary colors a lot, which is what's so captivating. So that's what I would comment.
Okay.
It's
Thanks.
beautiful. I love them.
Yeah, Stacy, you wanna say anything?
I love the dreamlike quality of the style. That how the elongated figures create this sense of surrealism, and I think it's a much easier way to confront the truths behind these paintings is through this kind of dreamlike, almost fantastical, or I guess no, they are fantastical, and very sublime images. I just love like the paint looks, I mean, it's funny because the paint itself doesn't look liquid, but like the shapes are all have this like flowing liquid quality, and I think it makes it easier to talk about the topics and enter them in a more I don't know how to say this. I think it's like, it seems like you can kind of be more honest about the story if the image isn't too direct. I appreciate this.
Wow, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. I'm gonna be thinking about that one for a while. But it is, yeah, how the form of what is made interacts with the meaning, and that was really nice. One day, what would you like to add?
I like his works. They're very surrealistic kind of art. His style is very unique, and I think his colors are marvelous. They're kind of very creative.
I had a question for Morgan, which is the connection between nature and motherhood, because we know that our current world now is becoming more and more machines, more the human-made things are taking over all of our environments. Your paintings talk about the power and dependence and relationship you had with your mom, but it's very natural. There's a lot of nature and powerful nature in it, the horses and everything. So what connection is there between nature and motherhood in your mind?
本身我觉
I
得
think
人本
human is a part of the nature, and it's a very natural thing that a human belong to part of the nature. So I didn't want to represent it in anything that is too distinct or too outstanding, because all of this come from my own instinct, the very of a human being.
It's almost like saying that this idea of Mongolian culture and how strong the women is, what the women are, that's part of the natural way of things. You know, sometimes we define a human culture as separate from the natural world, but based on what you just said or what he said, you translated for me. Now I'm looking at these paintings and I'm seeing that, well, here's a strong woman who's caring for everyone, and this isn't something someone just cooked up out of nowhere. That this is maybe part of the natural order of things. That's how I interpreted what he just said. Anyway, Angela, because I'm getting to know you a little bit, do you have anything you want to add?
I don't know art that much. I'm still studying, but I think I guess the method he's trying to express himself through these paintings is just like wonderful, because through the colors and the composition of the subjects, I just feels like they really unite in his paintings.
Thanks. And then Jim, I was joking around with you earlier, but did you have anything you wanted to say in particular related to the art?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting learning the stories behind them. Like a lot of times I go to museums and there's the story behind the painting alongside it, and I read it and I don't get anything more. But here I have a first impression of what I see, and after hearing the background of many of these, I focus on different parts, different emotions, different small things that I miss. And it's really interesting kind of getting both sides.
I think the thing I remembered most from Morgan Laoshi is artist Morgan is he was a businessman for 30 years and he didn't touch art at all. And after he lost his mom, his instinct is like, I want to go back to art. I want to go back to myself, my inner world. And in his painting, it's the mom, it's a family, it's a nature. It's nothing about this like business, money, or the things we thought is important in our life. So I feel like that part really moved me when I first time talked with him.
Just something that I'm seeing in the paintings that are not related to Mongolian, well, what we're talking about, the role of women, which is in the first paintings. I really love how the horse, like what I'm seeing is sort of the clouds and creatures. In my life, one of my main interests is around mythology and the skies, and the idea that when we look in the skies, we see creatures and gods and goddesses around us. And again, I think this kind of fits in with this theme of that the role of women and the way Mongolian culture is structured is part of nature. It's not a separate thing. And so I really like that first one, just because of my own interest in nature and mythology. So let's go on to Wande.
Thank you for having me. My name is Wande, as you've said, and I'm a Nigerian artist, and I've been practicing for about 30 years. While I was a child, I am that child that runs away from physics, mathematics, and all other subjects. I just love to draw. When teacher enters the class, I'll turn my book and I'll be drawing at the back. And I didn't know I was going to become an artist. I just wanted to just draw. It's just natural with me. And so as I was growing up, I wanted to become an aeronautic engineer because one of my uncle was an aeronautic engineer. And so that was my passion. So when I came out of school, I kind of wanted to become an aeronautic engineer, but I wasn't admitted for the first year. So I had to go to art school, pending the time I'll get back to the engineering school. But somehow I got into the art school and I fell in love with art. And so that was the journey, beginning of my journey. I got into art school and we started drawing and flowing with the art. And I found out that this art is very interesting. And so there was this particular day that we were given an assignment to do a research. So I went to the library and I picked up some books. The assignment was supposed to be on Cubism. And precisely, we were supposed to do an exposition on Picasso. And so I started the research, and I found out that art is more beyond just drawing. It is about making your own ideas. So when I came out of school, I started my career, and these slides that you're seeing, they're the initial ideas that I was doing. Painting things that I see around, human figures, people at rest, cultural affairs, and things like that. And somehow, at a particular point in time, I delved back into the archive to see the things that I've done earlier on in school. And I found out that taking line is all about cubism, drawing lines and all the rest. So that was how I started evolving the other style that I have. These slides that you're seeing, it's about the image on the left. It's about boys in the hood, how boys will sit around and do the talking. My art started just doing the normal mundane things. But somehow along the line, I try to see how I can move my art in a particular direction. And that is using lines, shapes, and designs. My basic idea about drawing and painting is to express my ideas in lines and shapes. Okay, if you look at this art now, you will see that influence of cubism, breaking images into lines and shapes, were the things that I try to employ to show my work. The image on the left here, it's just describing somebody who is in a pensive mood. You will see the image is broken into shapes, but my major approach to this design, it's all about looking at the positive and negative shapes. You will see that the positive area I try to organize together, and the negative are all together. So in my total design is to make sure that I arrange my images to fall into that category. The other one, it's about, it's the other one next to it under is about somebody is sleeping and is in trance. And I try to explain how the image is. The one in the middle is to show somebody who is hilarious. And the other one there is to show high witness, just to show people who are witnessing a particular event. Can you flip to the next slide? And if you look through those designs that you've seen, you will see that there are many broken lines and a lot of shapes. So I transcend into this new design where I try to break the images into bigger shapes, not small shapes as it was in the other one. I try to make the image more plain and more visible. Transcending from that point, I now began to look at how can I break things down into just colors and shapes. And breaking things down into colors and shapes, that's how these images evolved. The image at the right here, it's somebody whispering. And so I broke the image into basic shapes and forms. And I tried to organize the positive and the negative images. The other one on the right is called the gaze. The one at the bottom is called ecstasy, while the one at the extreme left is called the embrace. I just try to use shapes and forms, colors to form those images. Coming from that angle now, I try to break my images down into bigger shapes to make it look appealing and fresh. The first image here on the far left is called Trade Secrets. And the idea behind it is when you go into a particular trade or you go into a particular vocation, you need somebody who has gone ahead of you to give you the secret of the trade. While the other one is called Sisters. And that is to illustrate the idea of people coming together to help each other. When somebody is down, the other person lifts him up. you will see that the images are being broken into bigger shapes and simple colors. Here you will see the figures. They are broken into flat square shapes. And the title of the first one is A Shoulder to Lean On, while the other one here is called Red Wine. The one at the bottom with blue and yellow is called Yin Yang. And the other one is Sleeping Beauty. This other one is, I'm trying to use the same basic shape to illustrate emotional bonding. The first one there is Desire, and it shows a couple in a romantic situation. And the other one is a hug. While the last one is called Poise. What I look at in all this work is to look at my personal story, things that happened to me, my emotional feeling, my the situation, the circumstance and situation that I go through, and to illustrate them. And oftentimes when people see this thing, they relate to it. It is also their own story, and they can relate. They can relate and get the same feeling that I feel. Basically, you will see that from the beginning of my journey in art, you will see that I've evolved from doing the natural thing, the normal thing that you learn in school, painting everyday situations, coming back to now evolving my own style, from breaking the images into small shapes, into making images into my own style of cubism, and breaking it down again into basic shapes and forms and colors. And now I'm doing a bigger shapes, basic shapes, to form a good pattern and design. So that's basically my story, and that is where I am currently. And I hope I can move from here into another trajectory. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Wande. And I really enjoyed seeing the progression and variety of your art. I know I have a couple questions, but I'll go to some other folks first.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see. Anyone want to come in with something yet? Let's see.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Michelle, go ahead.
So you touched on you being influenced by Cubism earlier, but I was curious what really drew you. Like, what was it that you were so drawn to about Cubism?
Well, when I did the study in school, I found out that the people who started Cubism, they were looking at life, and they saw that life is made of shapes and forms. And so even when you're drawing, you're using lines to draw and shapes. So what I'm trying to do is to use shapes and forms to make a beautiful design.
Thanks, Michelle, because that's actually a good thing I can move off of with one of my questions, which was, Cubism has interesting roots. People think of it as, you say Cubism and people automatically think Picasso. And yet we know Picasso got the idea of Cubism from African masks and a lot of
Yeah.
artwork in Africa. So how is your work viewed by, I'll say, African intellectuals? Do they see you as, hey, you're just, bringing Picasso down here, or do they see you as sort of reclaiming Cubism for African artists?
They do not just see me as bringing Picasso back, because most people see Picasso as a word artist because of the way he breaks forms and twists things. But my own kind of Cubism, it's almost like minimalism. I don't use too many shapes, too many lines. All I need to do is break things into shapes and forms. So they are not seeing me as bringing Picasso back, but they are seeing me as evolving my own style and doing things in my own way.
Good, that's perfect. Because things can get easily caught up in different political considerations, and I'm glad that your development as an artist is being seen on its own terms. That's good. Wenying, you're looking really thoughtful. Would you like to share something thoughtful with us?
Thank you, Wada. Thank you for sharing your works and your thought and your story. And I wanted to see by your stages and your different period of time, your works going on. So in the beginning, in the 80s and 90s, I saw your work is perfectly like a photograph. Like, I'm a photographer. It's like you capture the moment. The fifth photo, the lady on a bench and the leading on a tree bark. That one is like, you can say like everywhere in the daily life. It doesn't feel like really painting. It feel like, photographer painting looks like. And also the fourth image, 3 men lighting each other and like chatting. It's kind of like it's daily life. We can see that scene everywhere, every day. And also daily color, daily life. And also the movement you use and the color you use is exquisite. It's also amazing. So I don't want to say that much, but yeah. So on the when you're going on the later works come from like what you said, you influenced by the Cubism and also by Picasso. And when I was first saw the Picasso works in Dion Museum several years ago, when I'm studying a photographer and we have a free trip in Dion. When I stand in front of Picasso's work, I just shocked. I feel like what kinds of artists can like do and view this world by like use the shapes and lights and the box and all different kinds of shapes and to can convey their story by the shapes, only the shapes. And actually, yeah, I would just say definitely we see the world outside the world from different perspective. But how you can use a 2D platform to convey 3D dimension world by using only one painting. It's just like blow my mind away. So when you said like you influenced by the Picasso, I definitely see the elements, color, shapes, everything from, it's not Picasso, it's from the Cubism.
Yeah.
So what I love for your work is like the color and the shapes. You didn't really, like Darren said, how your people from your world to view your work is like you just like
how can I say, it's like a copy. It's kind of a copy. It's like a duplicate your thought from Picasso, but you are not. You use some elements inspire you, and you transfer that inspiration into your work. So that's what I'm really glad to see your work by this point. So that's what I'm view from what I get from your work.
Thanks, Wenying. And also now I feel really good because I said she has something she wants to say, and now I feel like I'm very good at reading people's faces or something. And Luna, can you help? I wanted to ask Morgan if he had any comments on this.
我看了一下，就是前期
Seeing the early stage of the painting and seeing the late stage of the painting, the last lines is so different, and this transformation is very interesting from the first lines, the painting that is very realistic, to the one that all at the bottom that is very cubism and very full of lines and shapes and forms. It's very interesting transformation.
He asked you a little bit like, how do Wanda feel over these years? How does he to I think more artist Morgan, he always really curious about people's mind and how do people feel when they are doing something or in one stage. So he's a little bit curious about for one day he's in different art style stage, and how does he feel in different stage, and does that do those things related to each other or something like that?
Going to school, the first line you see is the traditional thing that lecturers won't allow you to explore and do your own thing. You must conform to the style in school. So coming out of school, that was what was inculcated in my mind. And that was what I was doing. But going on, I realized that I needed to break out and get my own style. And I think unconsciously at that time was when this idea of cubism came into being. And you can see the transition from the small shapes to bigger shapes, now to breaking into forms without human element, now coming back to human element and using basic shapes. I think it's a transition that I've come through, and I hope I'll be able to build on this to get a better presentation in the future.
Great, thanks. But you know what's interesting one day is one of your early paintings, the paintings of the boys talking, by the bridge. You actually have some very strong.
Okay, the boys in the hood.
Yeah, boys in the hood. Yeah, you have some very strong shape-based elements there. Like I was looking at his leg and the foot that's aimed at the viewer. Also the boy with the red hair, his pants. So I feel like you were already you already were demonstrating kind of a fascination with the shape, simplifying the shapes in that particular painting. Luna, did you have a question about did you have a question about this painting?
I just learning arts like in my last 5 years, I think. Before I was engineers, I was doing something business marketing, and for me, like when I saw some artists, they all really focus on one style, or like even they are really realistic artists, or they are abstract, they have some really abstract paintings. But this time I really finally have the chance to go through how do some abstract artists, they change or find their own styles. And to me, like if 10 years ago you asked me like what's the meaning of the last lines paintings, I will feel like, I don't know, maybe that's a face, or maybe that's just two people. And if you ask me like, how do the artists to express themselves, I feel I say, maybe it's just one style or something. But today, after I learned Wanda's artworks, I really like got touched by the first one in the third line, the whisper. I remember the name is Whisper. If correct me if I was wrong. Like 10 years ago, I will never feel any human beings activities with this painting. Like I feel like there maybe this just the shapes, the colors, maybe from like machine or from digital things. I'm this time when he told me this is Whisper, I feel like wow. So artists, they really see things different. They can translate things to different shapes or forms. I think I will never, I really want to learn more stories behind art. And I want to hear the artists to explain how they created the arts. It's not just the image we have seen. It's a lot in there, and it's really cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Luna. And then I want to just to give a couple people who haven't said anything a chance yet. KV, would you like to add anything?
I just want to sit at the corner listening to all these stories and seeing all these showcases. So
earlier when he was listening to Wanda's presentation, he spoke to me that he thought Wanda was left-handed, and I thought it was so interesting. Just from seeing the art and the composition, like he just he just had like this idea that like, oh, maybe he's left-handed, and I thought it was very interesting. Do you want to like riff on that more? Like what made you think that?
oh, sure. I just looking at the whole setup showcase of all your arts that displayed here, and I see some repetition of the composition that you use, and I feel like that maybe come from how you naturally look at the canvas and how you explore the canvas with your physical form, which is like maybe it come from like either like left-handed motion or something like that. But apparently I think I look at them and it seemed like you're right-handed, so I'm kind of feel sad that I was wrong. But anyhow.
So are you right-handed, Wanda?
Whether left-handed or right-handed, an artist must draw. So I am right and left-handed, but I draw mainly with my right hand.
Thanks, Michelle, for pulling Pan at it. Philip, and do you have anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, my wife Jenny and I are really impressed that seeing all the transition, from the top all the way to the bottom. If you were to close your eyes and just see these not side by side, it almost seems like a totally different artist. We were curious, what was like the hardest transition to get to the current style that you're showing today?
When you're in school, you are taught the traditional way. And when you come out of school, you must look deep into yourself and see how you can evolve your own style. And with the style, you cannot be stagnant. You must keep exploring to get better by the day. As you grow, as you explore, you get better by the day. And I think that's what I'm doing. I'm just exploring and seeing how I can move from where I am to another level. Maybe in another 1 year, I will jettison this style and do something else. That makes you an artist.
One day I like what you said, and I'm going to add to it or even disagree a little bit, because sometimes when we think of exploring, we think, oh, I'm going to try that. Oh, I'm going to go over there. Oh, I'll go over there. And I think what everyone is seeing in your artwork is something more than exploring. Is that you a very driven direction. You know, this idea that you said about finding a way to express your art through shape and line. You kept at it and kept at it and kept at it. It's not a random thing, you know. You're not like, oh, today I'm going to go over here. You really kept at it. It's very interesting. You know, I have a very strong science background, and I know you were joking earlier about running away from math and science. I see almost a very scientific approach in your artwork as well, that you didn't give up and you kept on, you tried something, oh, not good enough. Try it again, oh, not good enough. I'm going to just keep on trying. So I think that's what people are seeing here. Something more than just random exploring, a real dedication to a concept that you pursued over time. And it's I think I'm hearing that it's inspiring other people. And what's interesting is, as I know we have a lot of artists here from, or I've worked with a lot of artists from China as well. And I've heard the same thing around, you go to school, you do what school teaches you.
Yeah.
And somewhere, somehow, you got to find out what you believe in and what you want to do. And so I hope the folks who have come out of the art schools in China are hearing your message and can be inspired by what you're doing. But no, you know, what's interesting, again, I have a limited arts background, and it's always amazing to me when we start these conferences. You know, honestly, I'm in a little bit of a panic inside because I'm going, I don't know what to think about this art. I'm not sure what's going on, and I get a little bit nervous. And then partway through, suddenly there's all these new meanings revealed and these stories, and I wind up pretty much loving every single thing that we featured here. And so again, my selfish comment is that it's working for me. So I hope it's working for everyone else, but I'm getting something out of it. Thank you, One Day, so much. It was a really a super honor to meet you, Morrigan. That both of you, the beautiful, beautiful work, and I'm again honored to have met and talked with both of you. Bye bye.